Hello, good Friday, and welcome back, and thanks for being here on this 19th day of August. A whole lot of ground to cover. McGoffin County Fiscal Court, McGoffin County Board of Education meetings, as well as a special report that I've been working on now for several days. We'll also have a few updates on a few important reports, follow-ups, and updates for the upcoming weekend, all in what's going to be a very busy, once again, half hour, and an update on your forecast where it's going to still be wet and humid. Temperatures are going to be in check, and we're also talking about that cold front tomorrow, more than likely, which is going to give us showers and storms possibly tomorrow evening and into your Sunday. More on all of that in just a few moments. We'll begin right now with our first report, and that is coverage of yesterday's McGoffin County Fiscal Court meeting, where it appeared to be business as usual for the Fiscal Court, with Magistrate Gary Rooster Reisner possibly facing up to 40 years in prison after being convicted on 8 counts, and Larry Shepard, the husband and employee of the McGoffin County Court Clerk, also in attendance, facing up to 5 years in prison after being convicted of conspiracy in the federal election trial last week. A situation that was not discussed during the meeting, however, one that was, after some other business, was the most recent county audit. In standard operating procedure, if you will, the Fiscal Court approved the minutes of the previous meeting. They also approved payment of the bills. They approved a fund transfer of $30,000 from the general fund to the jail fund and approved the budget amendment before them. Emergency Management Director Mike Wilson was before the court to ask for approval to advertise for bid for a warning siren to be placed at the North McGoffin Volunteer Fire Department with a Homeland Security grant. A similar outdoor siren, the same as the one placed near the McGoffin County Rescue Squad in downtown Sayersville. There was some discussion of the Battlefield Park project. The aggregate is said to be on the ground for the walking trail. They have now agreed unanimously to advertise for bids for blacktopping the surface to construct the trail or finish constructing the trail around the Civil War Park. Judge Harden also noted that they are starting on the shelter for the park and working on the parking lots as well. Emergency Management Director Mike Wilson was also before the court seeking approval for a regional hazard mitigation plan through the Big Sandy Ad Board, and also seeking approval to accept 2 signs, 2 turnaround and don't drown signs that are being provided through the National Weather Service, and a program that will give several counties throughout eastern Kentucky similar signs, McGoffin County receiving 2 that will both be placed on Route 7 near the Board of Education in that low spot that sees so often water across it. Following all of which, Magistrate Matthew Wireman of District 3 asked if the Fiscal Court was going to address the recent Kentucky State Auditor's report and findings, which included nearly 10 areas of concern, one of those being an issue that was turned over to the Kentucky State Police and the Attorney General's office, a Mack truck, as you will recall, that was purchased by the county that is nowhere to be found, the same one that is also part of an ongoing FBI investigation, with Judge Charles Doc Harden responding and also referring to the state auditor as Hatchet Harmon.
Any business on the floor?
Given the audit reports that came out and the findings that were in it, are we going to have a corrective action plan to address those things that says the Fiscal Court should do?
It depends on some of them. Some of the stuff that Hatchet Harmon turned in, I don't necessarily agree with. Hatchet Harmon lives up to his nickname in Frankfurt. Good timing. I'd like to know the statistical probability that the report would just so happen to come out on a Monday before a rather significant Tuesday. Since it was held much longer than it took, a lot longer. Hatchet Harmon, good name for him. One thing I've already responded to, I cannot conduct an investigation with other people thinking I might be interfering in certain aspects. The rest of the thing I will respond to within a couple of meetings.
Well, given that I am an accountant and I deal with audit reports quite often, and that being on the Fiscal Court and the findings do say Fiscal Court, I'd just like for us to be able to look at a corrective action plan, because we are the policy setting body, and to be able to maybe have some input into seeing that we don't have those kind of things in the future. The timeliness of it from a different standpoint, given that this is 3 years old and 2 years old, they could have been corrected in these past 2 years. They could have not have been. And hopefully we'll get a more timely release of the next couple of years' reports.
You mean from the auditor?
From the auditor themselves, as far as having,
it was a little late coming.
well, having a report from 2013 now, the use of it, it's from an accounting standpoint, there's not a lot of benefit from it, but
I
it
pointed
brings
that
in
out to them, and in fact, when the bill comes through, I want a reduction in the bill.
when,
It's kind of useless. It's kind of, I agree with you, it's a little late on coming in. But we'll have to look at this because of some of those things have been done that way for years and no one had ever complained, so.
that's my point. If it says that we should adopt or change our administrative code, or we should do those things, it's pointing at this body and not the actions that happen in your side of the house. And that's why I'd like for us to have a corrective action plan to make sure that those items are addressed. Even though they may have been, I'd just like to see all that.
I kind of like to wait till next Thursday to see if it's going to be my responsibility or somebody else's, to tell you the truth. You might get that change you're looking for. Anything else? You brought up the only issue that I was going to address was Hatchet Harmon's tardy recorder. Excellent timing, shall I say. That's the one of the two agencies that ought to be above partisanship. And Hatchet Harmon's very partisan. Motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
That motion followed by a second and a unanimous vote. The meeting was adjourned. We'll adjourn for a few messages from a few of our sponsors and pick up where we left off with other headlines next. For high-speed internet starting at 15 meg for all of your gaming, movie, home, and business solutions, or to watch TV, including your favorite local channels without a contract, with hundreds of channels and digital and HD quality, and to stay connected 24/7 with friends and family, a direct line to 911, or to give your business the link it needs, choose telephone service you know is always there. Just click on their link on this site to find out how affordable the latest technology in communications can be. Foothills Communications. According to the Washington Post, almost 600 people have been shot and killed by police year to date, based on news reports, social media, and public records. Information from all the same sources that you and I hear about many of these events. While that is a serious topic, it's not one for discussion tonight. Tonight's discussion centers around not how you and I hear about tragedies such as these, how we are impacted by them, but more importantly, how our kids are exposed to the same stories and details, and how they, even at a very young age, process that information they see while maybe sitting next to us on the couch as the news airs, or information they hear while in the back seat, maybe as mommy and daddy are talking about their concerns and the world around them as they're traveling. Tonight's report is about how our kids may not be as entranced as what we think in that video game or book, about what they're hearing, and that they may be just as affected by those events and information, maybe even if not more so, and that they often, if not as much, have the same questions and worries that we do, and the same need for understanding and a need to express their emotions. Little Tegan May will be 7 years of age this coming Wednesday, and she's a prime example of this. Not just a kid who picked up on what she was hearing, but one who took her feelings to heart and put them into action by showing her appreciation and support of the men and women who she knows now more than ever are there to protect her and not harm her, something her parents, Sheena and Robert May, are proud to have shared with their little girl. Tonight's story is about an inspiring Tegan May who was inspired herself to share some love, appreciation, and a little candy. Inspired by a recent, what feels like a chain of events in recent weeks, several law enforcement shootings, but these shootings in which the law enforcement officers have been targeted across the country.
We were in the car school shopping, buying clothes, and on our way to Pikeville, actually, wasn't we? And me and Robert, there was something on the news before we left, and so we had kind of walked out to the door talking about it and stuff, and so she starts asking questions, where at, and why was they doing that, and so I just kind of explained, that it was just, I said, bad guys, and I don't want her to have that mentality to be afraid of them. Now, I'm going to be honest, I seriously in the beginning when she was little, I would say, that cop, and so she kind of got scared. And then once all this started, and I was like, she can't have, if she still does think that way, I don't want her to think that way. So when she heard us talking, and she was really sincere and asking and wanting to know, and I explained to her, and so then we started talking about how, like, when the things would take place, and how people ain't afraid of them, and how we need to really, just show them our support and stuff. And she's like, well, what can we do, Mom? And that's when we went to Pinterest.
And from there, a kit for survival was created, fit with everything an officer could ever need. Lifesavers to remind them how often they've been one. Smarties for the wisdom they need in those split-second decisions. Hershey Kisses to show them love and other sweets from the heart. Next was to put this blessed package of support in the hands of those who it was designed for. So Tegan set off for the Sacageville Police Department and the Magoffin County Sheriff's Office.
What you got?
I got this.
You do?
Explain it to her what she wants.
I want to do this because I know that some of the cops in the city has been getting killed, and I want to support you.
Well, bless your little heart. Thank you. This is for you, Neil.
What?
She brought you something.
Really? When you heard Mommy and Daddy talking about those events, what started going through your mind?
Like, I wanted to do it because I know some of these cops are getting killed in these cities, and I want to support them.
And with that in the mind of a 6-year-old and walking in to a police department, well, you would think that it would all be just a little bit unnerving.
Sure to read it.
Thank you. We really appreciate you.
I was a little bit scared at first, but I knew that my mom told me that there's no, sense to be afraid of them because they help us, and they react really excited. And I was, so scared that I wasn't scared anymore. I was scared because, when I was hugging him, I was I didn't really hug him. I hugged him, but I was really afraid of his taser.
That's what she had on her mind.
That's a good thought to have on your mind. Trust me, I understand. Mom, this has got to be a pretty proud mommy
I'm
moment.
so proud. It actually brought tears to my eyes, especially when I actually saw, doing it and stuff. I thought, this is something good for her. But then when I saw how appreciative they were of just such a small thing, coming from a little child, and I was just, and her daddy is super proud. It's awesome. She's so caring, though. She's always thinking of people, and just always wanting to do little things like that.
What were your thoughts when a little girl walks in with such a kind gesture?
It was really just heartwarming to see, a young child coming in here and, support the office, the sheriff's department as well as, all other law enforcement agencies.
What goes across your guys' mind as law enforcement when you hear the same things that she heard to kind of motivate her to do this?
Well, just like you said, that means a lot to us, all law enforcement now, to, have support out here in the community, especially after all the stuff that's been going on in the news and stuff across the nation with law enforcement in general. And that is what I appreciate probably more than anything, is parents teaching their children not to be afraid of the police. We're here to help them.
Anything you want to add?
Yes.
What?
I'm praying for them.
Praying for them. Do you think that's something that we should all be doing? And to the last question that I posed to Tegan, do you hope or think that your story might inspire other people of all ages to feel the same way you do? Tegan gave a resounding yes. And I think that her story, her kindness, generosity, and support has done just that. A super sweet story. We've got much more headlines to cover. Stay tuned. Magoffin County Board of Education meeting from last night will be coming up in just a few seconds. Before that, a few updates on a few reports we're following and looking forward to. Let's start with looking forward to Community Day tomorrow. They're setting up, they're getting ready an invitation to all retired teachers who will be honored during the festivities tomorrow. Remember their family deal. If you show up tomorrow, mom and dad and 2 kids, 12 to 18, four of you, get in for just $20. Kids under 12 get in free. And a full day of music and entertainment that all kicks off early with a lot of local acts, a lot of other acts that you're all looking forward to, a lot of food, fun, games, prizes, a lot of cash prizes, and a lot of other prizes you can have for maybe entering for just $1 or $2. And, of course, big names like Halfway to Hazard, Larry Sparks, Russell Moore, and Third Time Out, Atkins, and Louder Milk, and the list indeed goes on. They're all getting ready for the 13th Annual McGoffin County Community Day. It all starts at 10 o'clock in the morning, and actually even a little earlier than that, as, of course, all these nonprofit organizations are going to be anxiously awaiting your arrival to help raise funds for their respective cause, and one of them's got breakfast waiting for you. You can pick up breakfast at the South McGoffin Volunteer Fire Department booth starting at 8. And if you were looking forward to some Friday night lights, it's kickoff time. Can you believe it? Football starts tonight in McGoffin County. It will start a new era. That's right. Head coach Scotty McCoy, resigning, has paved the way for Justin Combs to make a return trip to McGoffin County, where he assisted back in 2014. He left Clay County there, as he is now coming to McGoffin County to take the lead position. He does so with an eager team and an eager stand of fans that will be by 7 o'clock this evening, awaiting them for their first home game kickoff set for tonight, hosting Leslie County at home at 7 o'clock. The McGoffin County Hornets start a new season of football tonight. And this last update is a bit twofold. First, and most importantly, to update you on the condition of a young lady, Brooke Salyer, who was involved in a serious car crash yesterday on Route 40. It's turned out by family reports that she did suffer a fractured neck, a fractured back, 2 punctured lungs, fractured ribs as well. Last in ICU in a Huntington Medical Center after being transported to that facility, where it's expected she will recover, we are glad to report, but have a rather long road in doing so. In reporting on her accident last night, I shared with you this image, which I saw and could not take my eyes off of, left behind in a tree that her car struck before it went over the embankment. This so far seen, I think, over or nearly at 20,000 times on our Facebook page and shared, as we were sharing the thoughts of possibly a guardian angel looking over her, or maybe some other sort of an inspiration that a whole lot of other folks have agreed with to some degree. We'll go past community calendar announcements and straight to obituary listings and reminders this evening. First, for services to be held in honor of 66-year-old Jewel Dean Shepherd of Louisville, who passed away on the 17th, formerly of Gunlock, the daughter of Magdalene Shepherd and the late Van Shepherd. She's survived by sister Ruby Jean Osborne. Visitation will be after 4 o'clock tomorrow and prior to Sunday services that are set for 11 o'clock that morning. Visitation and services from the McGoffin County Funeral Home. Also, services to be held this weekend in honor of 74-year-old Beretta McCarty Keaton of Sagersville, survived by her husband Joe, as well as sons Edward Neal and Jeffrey Scott Howington and Charles David Keaton. Visitation this evening after 5 all day tomorrow, and prior to services, they'll start at 2 o'clock in her honor on Sunday, all from the Sagersville Funeral Home Chapel. And lastly, this evening, a reminder of services to be held next week on Wednesday of next week in honor of Eugene Ferris, 78 of Middle Fork, who passed away on Wednesday, survived by his wife Violet Eileen Klinger Ferris, as well as several sons, including, Timothy and Tommy Cheney, Larry Ferris, and Avaljean Vore, and daughters Stella Kaufman, Pamela Miller, Tammy Pope, Trella Miller, and Diana Collins. Visitation once again starting next week on Monday, continuing Tuesday with services on Wednesday. Up next, coverage of last night's McGoffin County Board of Education meeting, where many discussions were held, including those centered around setting tax rates, automatic electronic defibrillators in our schools, and student-teacher social media policy changes. First off was McGoffin County High School Construction Project Manager Bill Cobb, who updated the School board on a punch list, a couple of pages worth of items that concern paint and touch-up done throughout much of the new building, a replacement of several light fixtures which were either broken during shipping or deemed defective, HVAC tests which have been done that showed all units working properly, but with Superintendent Scott Helton noting that some rooms were still warm, he advised that they would go back and adjust their automated thermostat settings and go from there. The gym floor, he said, was finished and able to be used. There were still some painting and some other touch-up work to be done in places in the gymnasium. And there were also a few windows that were said to have had leaks that they are trying to determine the exact cause of. They also, that being the board, determined that they are holding final payment in a couple of different areas until all items are addressed, that being flooring, mechanical, sod, paint, and electrical, until 100% satisfaction is seen. Next was a presentation by Brandy Helton and others. She is a registered nurse who, along with Dr. Scott Arnott, Dr. Patsy Jackson, and a paramedic and director of safety and training at Transtar and others, were there to present the board with a proposal to install automatic electronic defibrillators in each school and at both sports complexes in the school system. She spoke of the leading cause of death among school athletes, that being sudden cardiac arrest, and how 400,000 people nationwide experience sudden cardiac arrest, and how having an AED nearby or within their grasp increases their chances of survival by 70%. The proposal was an estimated $6,000 for 6 defibrillators, she said, with some alternate funding sources also available. After which the superintendent and school board said they would take it under consideration and have some information to relay back to the group proposing the plan after the next meeting. From there, Kevin Owens, Director of Finance, announced that the next annual audit for the school system will be beginning soon, and that for the new fiscal year, they started off with $2,212,000 in the general fund, which was a lesser amount than last year. In his report, Director of Pupil Personnel Brian Conley outlined 2,033 students in the school system in Magoffin County and a current attendance rate at 97%. He also said that students and families had been notified by all means possible of the changes made last meeting, which I've already covered, to the attendance policies for student athletes, student drivers, and other students. In other business, the board then set real estate and personal property tax rates, accepting the compensating rate that was suggested by the state to bring in the same revenue as last year. The motor vehicle tax rate was kept as it has been for the past several years, following which Chairman Rodney Ward suggested looking into an arts and humanities program district-wide.
I'll bring up amongst my peers here about maybe starting an arts and humanities program for the kids in the district. Maybe give them, another extracurricular opportunity as far as, I know there's a big interest, especially during Heritage Days and within the county, especially with plays, acting, and music, that type of deal. I think we need to offer something like that to our kids.
I actually talked to Mr. Meadows about this, was it yesterday? We discussed the possibility of using some of his after-school ESS time to do something like this. And if we don't have anyone on staff, we can use sub or bring somebody in and pay them what ESS teachers would be paid, an hourly rate, is the way it works. And that's one option that we were looking at. You can, I don't know how far you want to go down with the program, if it's below middle school or what, but we would have to sit down and each school would have to kind of be on board with it, because whatever we do with this plan, funding is going to be an issue, and it's going to be something that we have to kind of work and share these people and do some type of similar program at each school. But the arts and the music and the drama, it's good that we don't have it on a regular basis at all of our schools at this time, but this would give you an avenue to kind of get it started and see how it would work and how it would play into down the road. So I can, along with the principals, look at some options for you all and come back with it in September and see if we can't work something out before we can kind of get started relatively quick. And we probably won't be able to do anything this Founders Day, but next year we should have something really good. And I would envision like music or plays like a Christmas would be a good time to have something for the parents and something for the staff to kind of see what the children are working on. So hopefully we can do something in September.
On that topic, it was decided that they would determine the interest level at each school independently and proceed forward from there. That was followed by Board Member Jesse Rudd questioning the last time that voting districts were assessed and the need to do so.
Can we take a look at our voting districts for school board races?
And you're talking about voting districts, you're talking about how they're designed?
How they are designed. When was the last time
They were
this
updated.
was looked at and updated? You know, the population of our county has probably decreased. It's changed, I'm sure, since the last time it was updated. So, you know, we need to be proactive and make sure each district is lining up correctly in population. I just think, you know, something we need to take a look at.
Not a bad time. Not a bad time because you're going to have an election in November, so your school board will be 2 years before you'll have the next one. So.
And I bring this up because when I ran for school board, my residency was challenged and I was in a lawsuit, so I don't want someone else to have to go through that. And, you know, let's work with the county clerk's office and establishing clear, you know, lines.
And lastly, for tonight's coverage, Superintendent Scott Helton outlined changes that he says he plans to make to the system's policy on social media and contact between teachers and students.
Actually, we've got a policy. I got one on my desk right now. I've got our policy. We have a policy, but I went out and looked at some additional ones, and I've got a few things I want to add to our policy. Actually, it makes it a little more stringent. I've actually met with the principals. We talked about social media. I've talked with all of our bus drivers. I've spoken with all of our subs, the people that went through the training for subs. I actually made a point to go and talk with these people about social media and the cautious nature that they need to be dealing with this. I've actually talked with them about cell phone use at schools and with students, bus drivers. There's no need for a bus driver to have a child's phone number in his phone or her phone. If they want to talk to someone, talk to the parent. No teacher needs a child's individual number in their phone. They should be talking with parents only. And then I can't police them at home on Facebook as far as social media, but I did warn them that if they have children that are their friends, that I was at a training about a month ago, and the attorney for Kentucky, the professional standards boards was there, and she spoke for about an hour on this topic, and she advised me and everyone there, all the other superintendents, that if we had employees that had friends, staff that had students as friends, to advise them, take them on. Because really and truly, when you really think about it, now having their parents as a friend is fine. And if you want to talk to that child or talk to that parent, that's who we need to be communicating with anyway. Any type of communication that takes between an adult and a student here should be able to be taken within these buildings. You don't need to be texting if somebody, you just need to be talking to them. And so that's what I'm stressing. But I do have, and I've actually let a few people in the office look at what I've wanted to add, and I think you were one of them that I had made to read, Michelle. It's just it's a little bit more stringent than what we've got. We've got a policy, but I'm going to add to it.
Good, absolutely.